Hey guys, I'm Miss Davey, the ag teacher here at Henry County High School, and today I want to tell you a little bit about parliamentary procedure. Whenever I was in high school in FFA, I learned about parliamentary procedure, and I got to go to the state contest and won, and we got to go to nationals. We made it all the way to the semifinals, so we were somewhere in the top 8 teams across the nation, and it was a contest that I enjoyed. It was a contest that I learned a lot about, and it's a contest that's really been helpful for me as an adult. You might be thinking, what does parliamentary procedure have to do with agriculture? So I thought that would be a good place to start, but I'm going to tell you a little about what it is, and then I'll kind of connect it back to agriculture. And I've got some notes I'm going to use so I can remember everything that I want to talk about. I am teaching to a classroom with no one in a typical ag teacher fashion. I have my cell phone duct taped to a podium, so I can help you guys out today. So parliamentary procedure, which is what we call Parli in FFA, we kind of shorten it. It is the proper way to run a meeting. So they can use it in PTO or PTA associations. We use it in churches. It is used in the government, and it is used in civic organizations. Pretty much anybody that has to make decisions or official decisions as a group uses parliamentary procedure. And I can say, having been in several meetings, it's not always used correctly. It is usually used effectively. They kind of get the point across, but usually it leaves a little bit of work to be done. It, number one, maintains order in the group, so there's ever only one person talking at a time. It allows everyone to have a voice. I don't know if you've tried to make plans with a big group of people, but usually the loudest person is kind of the one whose opinion gets done. So if they want to eat at one place and they're kind of the loudest, they're going to make the biggest fuss, and that's where you end up eating, even if the majority of people didn't want that. And then it just lets the meeting run smoothly. You kind of know what to do and how to do it. So how does that tie back into agriculture? It seems like in agriculture we have lots and lots of groups and lots of committees. My husband and I have been active in several of these in the county, including the Henry County Cattlemen's Association, the Ag Development Board, which has a very important job. We have several $1 million that come in from our tobacco funds every year, and the Ag Development Board actually distributes those out to the farmers. We have our Extension Council, we have our Conservation Council, and lots of other groups that ag people are involved in. So we use it pretty often in agriculture, and usually it is the ag groups where it's done well, because most of those people were involved in FFA and they learned it while they were in FFA. So some of the components of parliamentary procedure is you have a variety of motions and rules, which we will talk about. You only have one person who's in charge. They're going to be the chair of the meeting. And the chair is important, but at the same time they're not. They have to keep the meeting run smoothly, but they are not even allowed to say their opinion. They're not allowed to vote. Their sole purpose is just to make sure that the meeting runs smoothly and fairly. You're only ever going to be talking about one thing at a time. And again, the majority rules. So if you have 15 people in your group, 8 people have to be for it, or it's not going to pass. So majority is half plus 1. So we're going to start with the main motion, which is the most important thing that you're going to talk about in a meeting. It's the one thing that you came to pass, to do, to decide on, and you might have several main motions, but it's the one that you're going to talk about. The one thing that makes it a motion, which this is what most gets left off at churches and in places that don't know Parli very well. To start off a main motion, you have to say, I move. If you say, I would like to make a motion, that's nice, but you didn't make a motion. You just said you would like to make a motion. Or if you said, I think that we should, that's fine, but that is not a motion. So the word I move kind of triggers everyone to know this is a main motion, this is what you're going to be deciding on. And so a person in the group is going to say I move, and then they're going to say what it is that you want to do. So I move that we drive our tractors to school. If I stood up and said, I move that we drive our tractors to school, then I have made a properly stated motion. But you still have to do a couple things before the group can talk about it. So the chair would reiterate, a motion has been made that we drive our tractors to school. And either at that time, if nobody has seconded, the chair's going to ask for a second. Or as soon as I say the motion, if I stand up and I say, Madam Chair, and she's going to say, Miss Davy, and I say, I move that we have a drive our tractors to school, then somebody can say second. And second just means that you think it's worth talking about. It doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with it, but it means I think this is worth talking about. So you address the chair, they're going to call on you, you're going to say your motion, and then you're going to get a second. At that time, the chair is going to ask for debate or discussion. And that just means, what do you think about this motion? This is a time when everybody can say what they think. As maker of the motion, I have first right to debate. I kind of think about, they say first impressions are the most important. So I made this motion before anybody else is able to taint my group. I'm going to tell them why I think that this is a good motion. A couple things that you have to do to debate. You're going to have to get recognition. So we're all going to stand up. Anybody that wants to talk is going to stand up and say, Madam President, or Mr. President, either one. Madam President. And then they're going to call on whoever they think stood up first, or whoever hasn't spoken yet. We don't worry too much about who they call on, because that chair is going to continue to ask for debate, or going to continue to allow debate until everybody has talked. In an FFA, our standing rules are that everybody can debate twice, and you can debate up to 2 minutes, which we don't usually talk 2 minutes in FFA. And I'm going to give your teachers a paper. I always give my kids 2 papers, and one of them talks about what is a good debate. So a good debate has 3 points. Number 1 is how you feel about the motion. So I would stand up and I would say, Madam President, and she would say, Miss Davy, and I would say, I think that this is an excellent motion. That's all I got to do. Number 2, basically I'm going to say why I feel that way. And I don't want it to be a lot about opinion. So reasons I am for or against motion. And then the last thing I'm going to say is what I want everybody to do. So I want them to vote with me. So if I'm for it, I'm going to encourage them to also vote for it. So I'm just going to put what I want everybody else to do. Sorry, my writing looks like chicken scratch. I'm trying to go quickly. So I would stand up from the beginning and I would say, Madam President. She would say, Miss Davy. I would say, I move that we drive our tractors to school. And if somebody says second, then I'm going to sit back down and she's going to say, a motion has been properly made that we drive our tractors to school. Now this motion is debatable and amendable, and it requires a majority vote. So she could say that. Sometimes we do an FFA, you don't have to. It just helps keep your members knowing what's going on. So then she's going to say, is there any discussion? And I'm going to pop back up. And again, she has to call on me. Everybody can stand up, but everybody knows she's going to call on me. So she's going to again say, Miss Davy. And I would say, I feel that this is an excellent motion. Driving our tractors to school is something that we have been doing for 36 years now. It lets people in the community know that, hey, we are proud to come from an agricultural background. We have 869 farms, and we make $32 million from agriculture. And when you think about agriculture, you think about tractors. So we want to show our pride in being from a farming community and drive our tractors to school. And I encourage everyone to vote for me on this important motion. And at that point, I would sit down, and if somebody else wanted to talk, they would stand up, Madam Chair, and we're just going to keep going, keep debating until nobody else is standing up. And if there's been kind of an awkward silence, nobody's standing up, then that chair is going to say, is there any further discussion that should come before the meeting? And we're going to look around. If nobody wants to discuss, then we're going to vote. So they're going to say, all those in favor say aye. You can say aye. All those in favor say no. No. Motion carries. Now, some people are louder than others, so that chair is going to go with the group that was the loudest. But if somebody in that group just thinks that the ayes were a lot louder than the noes, then we can call for a counted vote. That's really easy. Somebody's just going to say division after the chair announces the vote, and she's going to take a standing vote. So she would say, all those in favor, please stand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4. All those against, please rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Motion passes 8, 4, 7 against. She's going to tap that gavel and it's going to make it official. So pretty simple to talk about things. Pretty easy. Not a lot of, this is not really the tricky part about parliamentary procedure. Sometimes we want to change things, and that's where it gets a little bit tricky. So if we wanted to change this motion, we would make an amendment. An amendment just means I like this motion, but I feel like we need to tweak it a little bit. So in order to make an amendment, we would say, I move, because it is, an amendment is a motion. So we would say, I move to amend the main motion by and there's 3 things that we could do. So the first one is adding or inserting. We're saying this is good, but I think it needs to be a little bit more specific. So something that we could do, I move that we drive our tractors to school on Tuesday of Ag Week. So this is what I want my motion to read. And I would say, I move to amend the main motion by adding the words on Tuesday of Ag Week. Boom. Another way, I might need to, if it doesn't go on the end, then we say insert. So I'm trying to think of something we could insert. We're not allowed to drive lawnmowers, and we wouldn't. But if we wanted to do that, we could say, I move to amend the main motion by inserting the words and lawnmowers after tractors, or and horses, or whatever we wanted to add. And that would put it in the middle instead of at the end. The second type would be removing or subtracting. And so if you wanted to remove or subtract something, you would take it away. This motion is so short, there's not a whole lot that we could subtract. But we would say, I move to amend the motion by removing to school. So we would just say, I move that we drive our tractors. And then the last one is strike out and insert. So let's pretend like this was our main motion, this whole thing. I move that we drive our tractors to school on Tuesday of Ag Week. If I didn't think Tuesday was going to work, I would say I move to amend the main motion by striking Tuesday and inserting Thursday. And so we could change it a little bit with an amendment. And these are the basic things that we need to know in order to get things done, to process things, to have motion. So it's pretty simple so far. So if you know how to make a motion, you know how to make an amendment, you can get a lot done. You can get a lot accomplished. It's pretty simple. You can follow along, not very hard. Parli gets hard because there are 25 other things that you can do, and they are ranked. So one of them is not in order if another one's on the floor, and it can get really, really confusing. I'm not going to go that deep with you, but I did pick out 7 things that I thought were important. These are things that I have seen at a meeting. So they're things that you might come across if you're in a meeting, whether you're involved in PTO when you have kids, or whether you join a council or a group, whatever. These are some things that you might see. So adjourn, you probably have heard of that one. Adjourn is what you do at the end of the meeting. Everybody is ready to go home, you're done. So someone will make a motion to adjourn. I have some notes up here, so I'll tell you what those are. The first one is yes or no, is it debatable? Some things you can talk about, some things you can't talk about. So adjourn, you're not going to talk about it. You're not going to make any amendments because there's nothing you can change. You're saying the meeting should be over now. You're just going to take a vote, and as long as more than half the people are done, the meeting is over. The next one is the lay on the table. So lay on the table means, I don't want to vote this down. I don't want to vote for it. I think we need some more time to discuss. This is too far away. Lots of things are going on, but we're gonna put it away. We're gonna lay it down, and then later we're gonna come and we're gonna pick it back up. And so lay on the table, just like adjourn, it is not debatable, it's not amendable, and it requires that majority vote. So if you pass this motion, whatever you were talking about is set on the table, and if you want to talk about it again at the next meeting, you're going to have to take it off the table, and I'll tell you how to do that in a second. Next is commit or refer, and this one's pretty common too. A lot of our activities in FFA, they're pretty detailed, and it's not something we want to work out all the details in the meeting, and so we will refer that to a committee, and we can give that committee power to act. So they can make a decision on all of the details. We're giving them the power. So you can think about refer it to a committee. Most of the time, we have standing committees in FFA. Sometimes the chair would appoint a committee, or the person that made the motion could say a committee of 3 appointed by the chair is really, really common. But you're gonna give it to somebody else to take care of it. And it is debatable. So people can discuss that, whether it's a good idea or not. And then it is amendable. So if I use the motion about having a tractor day, and then I referred that to the scholarship committee, well, somebody would say that is really stupid. It should go to the ag advocacy committee. And so hopefully they're not going to say stupid in the meeting, but that's what they're thinking. So they're going to stand up and they're going to move to amend that motion to strike the scholarship committee and add ag advocacy committee. And then it takes a majority vote to get that passed. So once we pass that, we have set that in the laps of that committee, and they're going to work out all the details and carry it through. I mentioned this one earlier, division. Division's kind of fun. It is not debatable. It's not amendable. It only takes one member. And we always have that one member in class or in practice that likes to call division a lot. And we're kind of like, okay, that's enough. We're tired of standing up. But it only takes one member saying, I don't really trust that voice vote. I want to take a standing vote. Point of order happens when somebody does something wrong. So if somebody stands up and they're talking out of turn, then someone from the group can call a point of order. If the chair does something wrong, somebody can call a point of order. And it's not debatable, it's not amendable. Typically the chair decides. If you don't agree with the chair's decision, you can appeal that. Most of the time we don't do that because the chair remembers, oh yeah, you're right. And then they say, point well taken. You know, this person did not receive recognition from the chair. This only requires a majority vote, whatever they did wrong. And then take from the table is how you get this off the table. So we put that motion, it's laying on the table. It's 2 months later. We've done a little bit of research on it. We kind of know what to expect. So we're going to make a motion to take that off the table, and we're just going to pick up where we left off in discussion, and then we're going to vote on it. And then last, postpone definitely. So when you lay something on the table, it is on the table until someone makes a motion to take it off the table. Postpone definitely is a little bit different because you are going to set a time when you want to postpone it to. So I move to postpone this motion until the May meeting. So that means automatically in May's agenda, it's going to be to discuss whatever motion it was. Drive a tractor to school day, whatever it was. You're going to just automatically pick it up and discuss it on that meeting. So knowing these 7 things are really going to help you. Like I said, there are 25. I'll give your teachers a sheet that they can give you that goes over all of them. But I think if you know how to do these, you're going to be in pretty good shape. You'll be a lot better off than most of the people at the meeting if you know how to do all these. So I think Parli's fun. It's not really fun, but if you have a good group of people, it can be fun. You can have fun in discussion. You can get a little bit heated, have fun with each other. If you can kind of discuss some things that are interesting to you. It makes things go fast. I liked it because there is nothing prepared. In the FFA contest, we didn't know what our motion was. We had something that we had to do, but we weren't going to know what that was until we walked in the room and sat down in front of those judges, and then we would pull out a card and like, I have to do a point of order. And so I like that thinking on my feet and that adrenaline rush. It teaches you to be good debaters and good arguers. I like to tell my freshmen, I'm going to teach you guys how to get better at arguing with your parents. Because if you go and you say, that is so not fair, all my friends get to stay out until 11, I hate you, you're not going to get very far with your parents. But we talked about that good debate. If you can go and say, Mom, I really would like for you to reconsider my 11 o'clock curfew, and I've got a couple reasons. I've had this 11 o'clock curfew for a year now. I have never been late. I've never broken your trust. I haven't gotten in trouble. And most of my friends do have a 12 o'clock curfew, and we were going to go to the movies, or we were going to go to a haunted house, or whatever it was, and we are not going to be able to get home by 11. It wouldn't really be very fair to my friends to make them come home early. So I really urge you to think about extending my curfew to 12 o'clock. Maybe we could even try a 6-month trial period or something. But it kind of teaches you how to debate and how to be better at getting things accomplished and getting your feelings across. So I hope you guys have a little bit of fun as you practice in class, and I hope this helped you out a little bit.
Madam President,
Ashley.
I move that we host a petting zoo.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded that we host a petting zoo. Is there any discussion?
Madam President.
Ashley.
I think this would be a great thing for us to do. Kids these days don't get that much time to spend with animals, so an opportunity to get some young kids here to see some animals and for our students to show off their hard work with their SAEs would be a great thing for us to do. So I urge everyone to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President.
Ms. Davies.
I'm not so sure about this motion. When I think about petting zoo, I think about little kids, and I just think about playing. And I think if we're going to do an event like this, it needs to have an educational aspect. So I'm not sure that I'm ready to get behind this. So for right now, I urge everyone to vote against this motion.
Madam President,
Shelby.
I move to amend the current motion by striking out petting zoo and inserting animals for learning event.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded that we amend the main motion by striking out petting zoo and inserting animals for learning event. Is there any discussion?
Madam President.
Shelby.
I think this is a wonderful idea. Not only, hosting a petting zoo would be pretty nice, but I think adding in that this is an animals for learning event so that students are come, learn about these animals, and they can really tie this into their core content, and teachers can take advantage of this to help their kids.
Madam President.
Vincent.
I feel this is just a terrible idea. We don't have time nor the funds at this moment to put this on, so I feel that we all need to vote against this one.
Madam President.
Tracy.
I disagree with the previous speaker. This event wouldn't take much funding because the kids would be bringing their own animals, providing their own transportation. It wouldn't use any of the school's resources to do it, only the time during class, but it will be beneficial because kids will be learning about it. So I drew a lot of vote for this motion.
Madam President.
Ms. Davies.
I think that this amendment has a lot of merit. I think that as FFA members, we would be, an Animals for Learning event sounds like we would be doing more teaching, we would get to work on our public speaking skills, and so it would not only be a benefit to these students that would come, but to the FFA members as well. And I think it would also give us a chance to showcase some of the SAEs that we have that relate to animals. So I am in favor of this amendment, so please get behind me and vote for it.
I agree with the previous speaker because
I rise to a point of order.
State your point.
The speaker spoke without being called on by the chair.
Thank you. Point well taken. Would you like to receive recognition?
No.
Is there any further discussion on amending the main motion by striking petting zoo and inserting animals for learning event? All those in favor of striking petting zoo and inserting animals for learning event, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No.
Motion passes.
Division.
Division has been called for. All those in favor of amending the main motion, please rise. 4-4. All those against? 1 against. Motion passes. Is there any discussion on the new motion which reads to host Animals for Learning event?
Madam President.
Ms. Davies.
I move to amend the main motion by adding the words for 6th grade.
A motion has been made and seconded that we amend the main motion by adding for 6th grade. Is there any discussion?
Madam President.
Ms. Davies.
I made this amendment because We are really close to the middle school, and so that gives us a great opportunity. We wouldn't require any busing. They're right here, and I just think it would be a really good grade to work with. We already have the 7th graders that come down to the greenhouse, and the 8th graders that come for our CTE day. So this would give us a chance to see every 6th grader, and I think they would be really excited, and I think this would go over really well. So I urge everyone to vote for this amendment.
Madam President,
Gracie.
I disagree with the previous speaker. 6th graders are very young and hard to handle because they're very excitable, and I feel like they wouldn't be able to handle all the animals around, and they'd just be very wild and maybe scare some of the animals, and so they maybe choose a different grade to do. So I urge you all to vote down this amendment.
Madam President.
Well, we have a lot going on right now with Ag Week coming up pretty soon, and I think that we should not focus on this right now and go ahead and move towards something else. And I move to lay this on the table.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to lay this motion and its pending amendments on the table. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no.
No.
Motion fails. Is there any further discussion on amending the main motion by adding 4 6th grade?
Madam President,
Ashley.
I agree with the maker of this amendment. I think 6th grade would be an ideal group for us to work with. They focus a lot on biology in 6th grade, so I think we could tie in to what they're already learning. So I urge everyone to vote in favor of this motion.
Madam President,
Miss Davy.
I move to postpone this motion until our August meeting.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded that we postpone this to our August meeting. All those in favor of the postponement, is there any discussion?
Madam President,
Miss Davy.
I think that it would be a good idea to postpone it because we need to talk to the principals there, we need to talk to our principals, we need to talk to the teachers and make sure that this is something that they would be in favor of. And I think that we should do that before we pass the motion. Therefore, I urge everyone to get behind me and let's postpone this until our August meeting.
Madam President,
Vincent.
I agree with the previous speaker. There's just too many details here to work out and getting all the teachers and the principals to agree with everything. So I urge everybody to vote with me.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor of postponing this motion to the August meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No.
Motion fails. Is there any further discussion on amending the main motion by adding 4 6th grade? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor of amending the main motion, which, if passed, will read to host a Animals for Learning event for 6th grade, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No.
Motion passes. Is there any discussion on the main motion, which now reads to host an Animals for Learning event for 6th grade?
Madam President,
Gracie.
I move to refer this to Ag Advocacy Committee.
Second.
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded to refer this to the Ag Advocacy Committee. Is there any discussion?
Madam President,
Gracie.
I feel like our group right here is having a bit trouble deciding if we should do this or not, so I feel like having the committee do this would be a better move to make, so I urge you all to vote for this motion.
Madam President,
Vincent.
I disagree with the previous speaker. I think this group right here can come to an agreement on whether we should do this or not. So I urge everybody to vote against referring it to committee.
Madam President,
Miss Davy.
I'm for this motion because I think if we referred it to the Ag Advocacy Committee, they could work out the details of contacting the principals and the teachers, and I think that they would be able to handle it better than we could in this meeting. So I urge everyone to vote for this motion.
Is there any further discussion on referring this to the Ag Advocacy Committee? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor of referring this to the Ag Advocacy Committee, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No.
Motion fails. Is there any further discussion on the main motion, which reads to host an Animals for Learning event for 6th grade?
Madam President,
Ms. Davy.
although we still have a lot of details to work out, I think that this is a motion that has a lot of merit and that we should go forward with. And so I urge everyone to get behind me and vote for this motion.
Is there any further discussion on the main motion?
Madam President,
Ashley.
I agree with the previous previous speaker, I think now that we have some of these details added in and changed, that this would be a great motion and that we should go ahead and vote this through so we can go ahead and start figuring out all the details. So I urge everyone to vote with me and pass this motion.
Madam President,
Vincent.
I disagree with the previous speaker. I think that sixth graders are so unpredictable. They could spook all the animals that we have there, and everything would just be total chaos. So I urge everybody to vote against this motion.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will now proceed to vote. All those in favor of the main motion, which reads to host an Animals for Learning event for sixth grade, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.
No.
Motion passes. Is there any new business which would be discussed?
Madam President,
Vincent.
I move we adjourn.
Is there a
Second.
A motion has been made and seconded that we adjourn. All those in favor of adjournment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no.